We're live, Colleen.
Hi, Juhl. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. So today, I'm honored to have Colleen Elizabeth McTigue, artist, also a musician, composer, to be my guest. So my name is Ching Juhl. I have been hosting this program since the pandemic starts, which is March 2020. And I believe, Colleen, you are my 200 episode.
Wow,
Yay!
I'm honored.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So, um, yeah, so you are artist, you're a composer, and let's go from there. Where are these artistic juice came from?
Well, I've always been interested in art and music, even from when I was very young. I remember when I was in high school, it was the first time that I was really experimenting with painting. I wasn't very good at the time. And from the time I was very young, I've always been interested in music. As a family, as a family, we used to listen to music and sing along with music. And so I learned to love music at an early age. And when I was 9 years old, my mother came to me one day and said, "How'd you like to take accordion lessons?" And I said, "Well, I'd rather play the guitar." So we went down to the music store where they gave the lessons, and I said, "I want to play guitar." And the guy there said, "Well, your hands are too small to play
Mm,
guitar. We'll
mm,
start you on accordion." So my
mm,
first instrument was accordion. Then when I was 12, I spent a summer mowing a neighbor's lawn for $5 a week. And at the end of that summer, I had enough money to buy my first guitar. And the rest, as they say, is history. So I'm mostly self-taught, although I did study classical guitar when I was in high school for a few years. And that was most of my formal musical training.
that's great. We are simultaneously um, broadcast to Clubhouse right now. I think I need to set up a little differently because when I listen to you through the headphone, and then they cannot hear, right? So I am going to unplug this. Yeah. Now, can you? Yeah. How are you? Can you say something?
Yes.
I
Um,
cannot hear you. Um, let's
well,
see.
okay, we don't have to
Let me
worry
go
about
this.
Clubhouse.
Let me go this. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear
Great.
me?
Great. And let me see. Colleen?
I think, yes.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna take my headphone off so people can hear if they're there. Okay. I'm gonna take my headphone off. Okay. All right. So great. So you play the guitar. I see you have a lot of guitars behind you. So what kind of guitar you have a lot of electrical, right? Looks like.
Yes.
Yes.
I, it's weird. I'm getting an echo, and I just uh, I just muted my sound card, so I shouldn't be getting an echo. I'm wearing headphones.
Okay, let me try. Oh, I cannot wear headphone. I cannot. If I wear headphone, they cannot hear. So maybe we can just go back to what our setting, and then disable the clubhouse. Right now, there's nobody there.
Right.
Oh, Juliana is there. Hi, Juliana. Juliana is there. Okay, so let's see how bad it goes. Oh yeah, you have echo. Yeah. How is it?
Uh,
Hello.
hello.
Mark is here. Also, Lewis is here, and we have Sam is here. So, yeah. Do you still have echo?
I don't think so. No, I think
Good.
it's fixed now.
Great, great. All right. So, yeah, we're talking about guitar. You play the guitar?
Yes, I have many electric guitars, as you can see, but I also have two classical guitars and two steel string acoustic guitars. I also have a mandolin and a ukulele and a
Mm.
banjo, and I just basically collect instruments. And lately, I have stopped collecting instruments because I don't have anywhere else to put them. Um, so I think if I need to buy another instrument, I would need to sell one.
Mm, that's great. So, do you play right now, or do you want to play for us a little bit?
You want me to play something?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
nice.
Um, get this arm out of the way.
Hi, hi. I'm just saying hello to Mark. Hi, Mark. Ni hao. Hi, Louis. So this is an acoustic guitar, right?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Gibson
Gibson.
acoustic.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's a lady on the shore, all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. And when she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came for. I don't think you really want me to play the whole song, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
gives
Go
you
ahead. Go ahead. More.
or
I like to hear more. That's a nice.
Almost Heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road.
Nice. That's a
Thank you.
classical song. Awesome. So how did you did you do music first and then you become a artist? You paint, or do you paint first and do music? Or you do it at the same time?
Well, that's a bit of a story. I spent most of my life working as a computer application developer. Most recently, I spent 22 years working for a company called John Deere Financial, which is here in Canada, John Deere Financial Inc., which is the company that finances John Deere equipment for people in Canada. So if you wanted to buy a tractor or another piece of equipment and you needed to finance it, you'd finance it through them. So I was a computer application developer. And in 2017, I basically had a bit of a mental break, and I was diagnosed with severe
Depression.
severe clinical depression and generalized anxiety disorder. Thank you.
Mm.
And so I went on disability leave, and I ended up spending 3.5 years on long-term disability. And during that time, I was really not doing much of anything. And so I thought, rather than do nothing, I should do something. So I started, I said, what can I do? Well, I remembered that when I was young, I was interested in art. And I said to myself, let's get some art materials, some art supplies, and see what I can do. So I started painting, and I also found a local group called uh, Willow Arts Community, which is a group that offers free artistic um, training and experience to people with lived experience of mental health or addictions. Um, so I joined that group, and that gave me a lot of exposure to new ideas and a lot of practical experience with painting. And um, I was lucky enough in 2019 to earn a space as an artist in residence with that group, and so I had my own studio. And so I created a series of paintings uh, based on my experience living in the closet as an LGBTQ person, and I called the series Doors. And basically, a lot of the paintings are very dark because it's dark in the closet. There's not much light in there. And you can see, in some of the paintings, just basically, I don't think there's any of them up there on the website, but just, light shining under the door or around the door. And the final two paintings are, the second to last is called Courage. It shows the door is open. And then so if you stop there, those are the last two paintings in the series. The one on the right is called Courage. The door is open and there's light outside, but you have to have the courage to walk through the door. And the one in the middle is called Coming Out. And it's, once you come out and you can take a nice walk through a well-lighted path, and things are much nicer. So that series was painted both on 16 by 20 canvas and also on actual door panels, which were more like 30 by 40 inch panels, and they were displayed in a show that I was in at our local arts center. And the one called Coming Out, the one in the center there, actually got sold at the opening of that show. So that was a really good experience for me.
That's great. Is all your painting oil on the canvas?
No, it's acrylic on canvas.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And let's see. That's lovely. This almost like this duck in the water, almost like a photo.
Yeah, that actually, I think, is, I'm not sure if it's a duck, or I think it's, if you look at the beak, it's more like a sandpiper or something like that. And I gave that painting to my son and his wife as a wedding gift.
Wow. Yeah, I want to say hello to Clubhouse. Right now we have some friends there. I am talking to Colleen, interviewing Colleen on my YouTube channel, Juhl Media. So if you have a device where you can go on Juhl Media, you can see us. But we are broadcasting in the same time to Clubhouse. Welcome, and maybe later I can bring some friends on top of a stage. You can ask questions to Colleen. And if you go on YouTube, you can be our audience. Also, you can make questions in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Great. So So tell us a little bit about your opera project. I'm very, very interested in.
Okay. Well, I spent some time over the past couple of years writing songs and getting them recorded. And last year, I was lucky enough to get a grant from an organization here in Canada known as Factor, which is, it stands for Foundation Assisting Canadian Talent on Recordings. And so they gave me a $2,000 grant that I could use for work in the recording studio. So I recorded several songs, and there's one studio in particular that I work with. The engineer is a good friend of mine. And so I had a session with him a couple of months ago. And before we got started, we were just having a chat. And I said, I want you to listen to something. So I played him one of my orchestral compositions that I write with the hope of getting music into film and TV. And he was impressed. And he said, how'd you like to hear that done by a live orchestra? And I said, obviously I would. So what he suggested was, he said, if you were to write a short opera based on your life, I bet you could get a grant from the it's called the Canada Council for the Arts. And so I thought, well, that sounds good. I did a bit of research into that. And so then my first plan was to get a grant and do a professional recording of the opera. And I realized, since I'm retired and I have an income, I can go ahead and write the opera at no cost to myself, because I'm just basically working in my home studio here. And so subsequently, I spoke with a professional orchestrator, because I thought, if I'm going to hand sheet music to an orchestra to get them to play this, I want to make sure that the sheet music is correct, so that they won't have any trouble playing it. He suggested that rather than make a recording as a first step, it might be better to find a way to workshop it live. So that's what I'm currently working on, is trying to find a way to get it performed live, perhaps not with an orchestra, but perhaps with a piano and some local singers. And, I'm hoping to do that this summer. Meanwhile, I'm about halfway finished composing the pieces of the opera. And I expect I should finish it probably sometime in January or maybe February. And when I get it to that point, my plan is to open a room on Clubhouse and share it. And even at this point, each week I join the Talent House room on Wednesday evenings, and I share a piece in there. And on Thursday evenings, Cedar Ray has his entertainment industry rabbit hole room, and I share in that room as well. So the response to my opera so far has been very good. Even people who are professional filmmakers and professionals in the entertainment industry have reacted very well to it. So I'm really hoping this will become something that could be performed elsewhere. Like someone even suggested it could be an animated film, and I thought that would be really a very interesting project. So
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Now, opera is one of the best musical expression. Involves acting, involves lyrics, involve music, of course, orchestra, and then scenes. A stage, a set, you name it. So, the very early opera, famous operas by Italian, right? I mean, like Puccini or Verdi and a bunch of Italian composers. But that was in the Romantic period, early Romantic. So, what is your musical style? Is your music style close to that kind of opera, like where people singing with the trained voice, or your opera is more modern? Way? Is your music atonal or tonal?
It's tonal. It's in English, of course, because I don't know any Italian, and I would say it's more of a modern opera along the lines of something like uh, Jesus Christ Superstar or Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, where the pieces are more like songs. Um, and so far, most of the pieces are fairly short. And what I've done is I have composed um, a couple of pieces to go in between the main pieces to allow for things like set changes and stuff like that, costume changes. Um, the first scene takes place in the waiting room at a hospital where my father and a couple of other prospective fathers are waiting for the delivery of their babies. And so, yes, I'm keeping in mind that if it's going to be performed live, it's going to need sets. It's going to need,
Props.
no, it's going to need props, but I'm thinking of keeping it fairly simple. And like one thought I had was that perhaps the overall scene, like the background for each scene, could be projected on a screen so that it'd be easy to change from one scene to the next. But there are some lighthearted moments in it and some very dark moments in it. There's one song called Suicide High because I was pretty much suicidal all during high school and even afterwards. And there's one scene that takes place where I ran away from home when I was 17 and I hitchhiked halfway across Canada. So basically it encompasses various memories I have from my life and highlights the difficulties I faced not being able to be who I knew myself to be. The tension between knowing I'm actually female and the fact that I have a male body. So it really sort of encompasses my whole life, which I think is something different than most operas, which generally tell a story that encompasses a short period of time. We're talking about a period of 50 years. I think it's probably the first transgender opera ever written. So hopefully it will gain some interest in the general public and be useful for educating people and for helping people.
Now, speaking of opera, so you're the one that synopsis is your life, and did you write the lyrics also?
Yes.
Okay. And your music. So you're like Wagner, Wagner wrote his own, he's like a total control freak, right? He writes his music, he wrote his music, he wrote his own lyrics and, of course, orchestration. And so now how long is the opera?
I estimate it's going to be somewhere between an hour and an hour and a half.
Okay.
Based on the fact that so far the music that I've written, if I play through from beginning to end, it's about 25 minutes long, and I think I'm about halfway done. I could be wrong. There could be more than that. But so I think it's probably going to come out around an hour to an hour and a half in length. So there may be an intermission.
Are you going to have your like in Broadway show, people do speaking in between songs? Are you going to have like a aria and recitative? Recitative means people singing, but they're speaking with a singing tone.
I think it's mostly arias,
Oh,
which is basically, one person singing and telling the story through the singing. Um, Although there will be some scenes where there will be more than one character on the stage performing. So, um, so far, it's basically the character would be me singing in each scene, um, except for the first. In the first scene, there's my father and two other fathers, and the nurse brings the baby in. That's me. Um, and even the baby has a line in that scene because my father is singing "It's a Boy" and the baby's going, "I'm a girl." You
well,
So hopefully,
yeah, that's very very visual, right? To tell the story of past. And so tell us a little bit, because I also interviewed a trans person who's a film director, like a year ago, and so tell me a little bit, like, for people who do not understand, um, where is all this come from? Do you think it's a genetic cause, or someone in the middle of it, just in the middle of your age? Of course, in your case, you already told the story of your baby, and just educate us a little bit.
okay. So you're talking about being transgender, I
Yeah, yeah,
assume.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Um, well, my experience of it was that when I was very young, say 3 or 4 years old, I had the knowledge there was something different about me, something that didn't quite add up, but I couldn't really figure it out until I was about 9 years old. And then I knew enough to know that I was really a girl. Um, but I also knew that it wouldn't be safe to mention it to anybody. I couldn't tell my parents about it. There was nobody I could ask for information about it. It As I got older, it never occurred to me that if I went to a library, there might be some books with information about it. So I basically went through my early life assuming that I was probably the only person in the world who felt this way.
Mm.
Then later on, I heard about people like uh, what's her name, Christine Jorgensen, and she was a very famous case in the late 1950s or early 1960s. Um, so it seemed to me like it was something that was very rare and very exotic, and people would fly off to someplace in Scandinavia to get surgery for it, which I assumed would always be quite beyond my capabilities. So I just figured that I had to live my life that way. And that resulted in a lot of anger internally because there was this tension between who I was seen as and who I wanted to be. And I didn't see that there was any way to change that. So, um, as far as where it comes from, I think it's genetic. I mean, to me, I experience gender as something innate, something that's inside that you simply know which gender you are. And so it didn't have anything to do with what my body looked like. It had more to do with who I felt myself to be. And I think that's something you can't learn it from outside. There was nobody who told me anything about it. I wasn't exposed to any information about it when I was that young. Uh, it just seemed like this persistent feeling and this persistent thought that I really wasn't a boy. And I didn't know what to do with that. So um, it was a very stressful way to grow up.
So when did do you so-called come out of closet? Were you really afraid that people will judge you? How does your parent react to you?
Well, I waited until I was about 55 years old and had been married for over 30 years and had 3 children. The children, excuse me, at that point, the children were mostly grown. And I came to realize that I would never really be truly happy unless I could actually be who I really am and live my authentic life. And so there were a number of years when my wife and I were going through marital counseling because, I felt like the marriage was failing. It just wasn't satisfying for me. And, but I didn't know why, because I had been in denial for so long. Finally, I came to realize that I had never dealt with being transgender. I simply had buried it, swept it under the rug. So I came out to her in the context of a marital counseling session. She already knew something about it, though, because after we had been married for a couple of years, I attempted suicide. And after that, she was asking me, like, why would you do something like that? And I said, well, I think it really is that I'm supposed to be a woman. And neither one of us really had the vocabulary to discuss it intelligently. And neither one of us wanted to end the marriage. So we agreed to just sweep it under the rug and never speak of it again. And so when I told her during the counseling session, she got a look of resignation on her face, because she knew that, this is something that I had been dealing with for a very long time. And so I spent a year going to support groups and learning about what it would mean to go through transition, and also preparing my family for the possibility or the eventuality that I would transition.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife initially reacted very, very badly.
Mm-hmm.
She, of course, couldn't stand to see me dressed as a woman. And she really didn't want me to do it. She wanted to continue as we were, because she knew, as I did, that basically it would mean the end of our marriage. And that's really what happened. And so we ended the marriage in 2011, and I moved out, and we sold the house and split the money and went our separate ways, but not very far. And so nowadays, she and the kids are still in my life. I have 2 grandchildren. And as a matter of fact, just last weekend, we were all at my son's house celebrating my grandson's first birthday. And so I'm happy to report that most of my family is still in my life. My parents, I didn't tell them directly. The first person in my birth family that I told was one of my sisters, who happens to be a nurse, and she was married to a doctor. And so I had always felt an affinity with her. So I decided to call her, and I started off by saying that my marriage was ending, and she was like very saddened by that, and she wondered why. And I said, well, it's because I'm transgender and I'm going to be transitioning. And so we talked about it for a while, and then she said, so what's your plan for telling the rest of the family? And I said, really, I think I'll just send an email out to everybody else and let them know. And she said, that's not the type of information that should come in an email. And I said, well, I can't call mom and dad and tell them this. And so she did that for me and
Mm.
explained it to them. And so they sent me an email and basically said, you're our child. We love you and we always will. And, our primary concern is your health and happiness.
Mm.
And so they eventually accepted the fact that I am transgender, and they are basically at peace with the fact of who I am. So everything worked out in the end.
That's great. That's very comforting. And so you didn't really have to deal with when you were working in the company, right? Because
Oh, I did actually. I transitioned in place. After I transitioned, I continued working at the company
oh,
for a number of years. I transitioned in 2011,
mm,
and I left the company to go on disability
mm,
in 2017. So that was basically about 6 years that I worked as Colleen in the company.
mm.
They dealt with it very well, um, very professionally, and I didn't have really any trouble at all with that.
That's great. That's great. So, what what are you gonna tell people, kind of just in one phrase, who are looking down transgender, or who are looking down, people who are gay? That, like, actually, I came from a tradition in China. It used to be, if you are a gay person, they'll put you in jail. So it's very severe, sort of a bad thing. So
Well,
how would you tell people in a short sentence?
I would say that we have a right to exist in the world just as much as anybody else. And um, we're not freaks. Uh, we are not members of a cult. We don't have an agenda to turn other people transgender. We just want to live our lives, and just the same way anybody else does. I mean, even as recently as the 1960s, gay people in the US would often end up in mental institutions and be subjected to electroshock therapy and things like that. It was listed as a mental illness even as recently as I think um, 1980 something. And being transgender was listed as a mental illness until 2012. Um, so they are no longer listed as mental illnesses. And, of course, transgender people need medical intervention often, so in the form of hormones and surgery, in order to be completely comfortable with ourselves. But sometimes we don't. And then there are people who are gender fluid or gender queer or agender, or non-binary. And those are all, it's basically, gender is a spectrum. It's not black and white or either or. It's a continuum. So you can be anywhere along that continuum. And anywhere you happen to be, you have a right to exist in public.
So now, when you're in the public, and do people do, like, people you don't know very well, like, do they kind of show their uh disconnection with you?
No, actually, I don't experience anything like that. I come across as a female, and people treat me like a female. I get called Miss or Ms. Most of the time. The the most difficult time is if I am on a telephone and people can't see me. and even though if they know my name is Colleen, they'll still say, how can I help you, sir? And sometimes I correct them and sometimes I don't. I don't get too upset about it either way. Because when I was just before I transitioned, I took a trip to visit my parents, and on the way home on the plane, I was sitting next to a cisgender, that means non-transgender woman, who happened to have short gray hair and large glasses. And the flight attendant came up from behind with, the drinks. She turned to the woman and said, can I get you something, sir? And so I said to myself, well, if that can happen to a cisgender woman, what am I worried about?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So you must experience a lot of things, like when you fill a form, when you go to apply for a job, or like I have to apply for a visa to go back to China, and they definitely ask you what is your gender, and in those moments, did you feel uncomfortable, or you're very comfortable telling them, what you're?
Well, all of my documentation, such as passports, driver's license, health card, etc., all says I'm female.
Mm,
I got that all updated years ago.
that's
And so basically, I moved through the world as a woman
mm,
and needs to know the difference.
yeah. Wow, that's amazing, and you're so open about it. Yeah, that's wonderful. So we are at almost the last stage of our interview, and now I was wondering, like, if you have any samples of your opera that you can play for us.
Actually, I sent you a link to the playlist for my opera. So you should,
Oh, playlist. Let me see.
yeah,
Okay. Go to the
I
email.
could play it, but I'm not sure if the sound would come through on the
Oh,
streaming.
okay. Um, yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. Playlist. Let's see. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I see it. Okay, I missed it. Yeah. Oh, okay. So which one shall we play? Oh no, I have to bring this. Sorry, I have to bring this on my browser. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Go back to email and copy this. Oh, it doesn't let me copy.
So you should be able to just click on it. It should
Really?
open.
Oh, okay. Let me click on to see if you can hear. Okay, it's a boy.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
hear?
the first.
Can you hear?
Yes,
Okay.
the sound is not good.
Okay. Not good.
I can't hear it at all now.
You cannot hear?
No.
Oh, okay. 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 You cannot hear. Let me put it in here. Okay. And then go back to here. And let's see. You have to share with the link and go back to Chrome. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We got it now. Okay. So which one should we play? Maybe
Play
not.
the
Yeah. Maybe not too sharp. Okay. More
yeah,
lower voices.
play the first one. It's a boy.
Okay. Okay.
Seems like I've been here all night waiting, waiting. Hope everything is alright, waiting, waiting. I don't want to sound forlorn, but it is very nearly morning, waiting, waiting, waiting. Seems like I've been here all night waiting, waiting. Hope everything is alright, waiting, waiting. I don't want to sound forlorn, but it is very nearly morning, waiting, waiting, waiting. I've been here all night waiting, waiting. Hope everything is alright, waiting, waiting. I don't want to sound forlorn, but it is very nearly morning, waiting, waiting, waiting. Your waiting is over, Mr. Ireland. Here's your boy. A boy, my firstborn is a boy. The very thought just fills my heart with joy. He'll be an upright man, at least that is my plan. I'll bring him up to be a most successful man. It's a boy, it's a boy. The very thought just fills my heart with joy. I've so many hopes and dreams, I really want to scream. It's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy, I'm a girl. It's a boy, I'm a girl. The very thought just fills my heart with joy. I've so many hopes and dreams, I really want to scream. It's a boy, I'm a girl. It's a boy.
Nice, very nice. Are you going to sing in the play, or are you going to have somebody else sing?
I'm going to have somebody else sing. Right now, these are just demo recordings, and I'm singing all the parts.
Okay.
Just so that people can get an idea of the tunes and the lyrics.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, all total, how are you going to cast? Like, are you going to do an audition and finding your singers and actors?
Well, I think at first it's probably going to be difficult because I won't really have a budget. So I'm just going to basically ask friends, people I know who can sing fairly well, and keep the production very simple with, like basically perhaps do a performance in a church and not actually have very many props or, and no scenery, just to present the music and see how people react to it.
I see.
My dream is to have it performed at our local performing arts center with the Niagara Symphony Orchestra and some professional singers. That would be my dream. And my ultimate dream is that it would be something that opera companies elsewhere would want to perform, and that they would pay me a fee in order to perform it. So that's what I'm really aiming for.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very smart. Now, are you consider yourself a Canadian or American?
Well, I'm both, actually. I'm a dual citizen because I was born in the U.S. and mostly raised in Canada, and I live in Canada. So I took Canadian citizenship after 9/11. I got my American passport then, and I got my Canadian passport sometime later. And so I have two passports. And one of the difficulties is that I have to file income tax returns in both countries. So that means I use an accountant because I want to make sure there's no mistakes there.
You're very privileged. Now, you are such a versatile artist in music and art, and I understand you made a violin. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I made a violin starting in 2007, and ending in 2009. I did it all by hand, and I basically learned as I went. And it was so it was basically an attempt to distract myself from my unhappiness. There was a point where I started doing hobbies. I started brewing my own beer. I started building and flying model airplanes. And eventually I made a violin. And after doing that, I thought, you know, this stuff doesn't really distract me anymore from the main issue, which is that I'm unhappy. And so I realized then that I had to face up to the fact that I had to do something about it. But yeah, I made a violin, and I can't really show it to you at this time because it's not in very good condition. The bridge fell and the strings are loose. Actually, well, what do you say?
I play the violin. You know that, right? I play the violin.
Do you? 1 second, let me get it out.
Well, yeah, while Colleen is getting her violin, I just wanted guys to tell you about I do this live interview program once a week, usually on Wednesday afternoon, 5 o'clock Eastern time, and welcome to join me. However, I may go to China. I want to go to China like tomorrow, but I cannot because I don't have a visa yet. So if you don't see me on Wednesday, probably I'm in China because there you cannot. There's no Western social media is allowed, including Google. Google owns YouTube. There's no Instagram, no Twitter, no nothing. Okay, so you will see me disappear for a little bit. Yeah. Oh, look at that!
There's my violin.
Nice varnish.
I
Wow.
made the varnish myself also.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, how do you do that? I mean, you watch YouTube?
Well, I started hanging out on a web forum where violin makers would hang out, and I was able to ask questions and share pictures of the process.
Yeah.
And you know, I learned basically how to do it through that, and also reading books about it. I don't even play the violin, so I don't really know why I did that.
That's amazing. I play the violin. I'm a professional violist, and I teach violin for a living. And yeah, I started play when I was 11, and I know actually a couple of very good violin makers and luthiers. And
Yeah,
it's a total incredible art, right? And
yes,
it's a very solitary, what's the word? Like you have to be just by yourself and then make this thing work, right? There's no shortcut when you make an instrument like that.
that's true. Right now, I'm making a guitar, an acoustic guitar, for my son. So I hope to finish it in time for his birthday, which is in June. So I think I've got plenty of time. But in the meantime, writing the opera is, and you might call it a musical or an opera. The lines are kind of blurry, but I'm spending most of my time writing that, and I haven't worked on the guitar for a while at this point.
Wow, that's amazing. That's just amazing. So, how did you and we met on Clubhouse, and you often come or be in the same room as I am, and usually you come, like, which rooms or club do you usually go?
I spend a lot of time in the music-oriented rooms and the filmmaking-oriented rooms. So, for instance, this evening, I will be in the Talent House room at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Oh yeah, Talent, right?
Talent House, and
I love that room. Yeah.
I also like, some of the, like in the morning, there's the Ever Mindful Club. I spent some time in there, and this afternoon before we got on here, I was in the New Hollywood room listening to a filmmaker talk about having gotten a distribution deal through Warner Films. Warner? No. Goldwyn, Samuel Goldwyn Films.
Mm.
And so that was pretty exciting. I've come to know a lot of people like Elizabeth Vargas and
Yeah,
Dan Eisen, and so I've got about 1,900 followers now.
wow.
Which is pretty amazing because I don't ask for followers. I don't,
Yeah.
it's just people tend to follow me, and I spend a lot of time mostly in the filmmaking rooms and in the music rooms because my ultimate goal is to be a composer for film and television.
Mm. So if someone, it's very interesting. When I talk to my friends or acquaintances, I say I love Clubhouse, and they say, "What is Clubhouse?" So how do you describe? Like how did you get on? Somebody said you should get on. How was your journey?
Well, a friend of mine told me about it. I was part of a group that met on Zoom, basically, and we would collaborate on songs, writing songs, and we would get together one like on the weekend, and we would choose who we wanted to work with, and then so for a week we would spend working on the song, and then the following weekend we would get on Zoom and play the song for the group. And so the person who ran the group mentioned Clubhouse, and at that time you still had to get invited to join Clubhouse. And so one of the people that I worked with writing songs had some invites, so he sent me one, and that's how I got on Clubhouse. That was in 2001, I think, if I remember correctly. 2021.
And did you like it right away, or did you gradually liking it?
I don't remember. I think I pretty quickly found several rooms I enjoyed. I found rooms with people like Tommy Jackson, and there's one room called The Power of Networking, No Egos. And I spent time in that room for a while, and I just basically explored until I found the rooms that I felt most comfortable in. And every so often I join a small room that I'm not familiar with just to see what's going on. And sometimes I meet fascinating people. So Clubhouse has grown in capabilities quite a bit since I first joined. And so now we have sound effects and things like that. And, it's something I enjoy. I'm on Clubhouse pretty much every day, except the weekends. So yeah, that's what I would say about Clubhouse. It's something you should get on, and whatever you do, whatever your interests are, you'll find some people to talk with.
Right. I sometimes find, yeah, I'm mainly, I go to at the very beginning I go to a videographer room, and then that slowly got into film room. Right, if you follow someone, it's all about following. If you find someone interesting, you follow them, and then when they do something, and then it shows on your hallway, and then going, and then the segue to some Chinese group, and that is mainly either talk about politics or just chit chat, you know. So sometimes we just get together, just talk about, not very important things or important topics. It's very therapeutic, you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah. So that's great, and that's how I met you. Yeah. In the same time, I'm gonna broadcast. I have a room called Smartphone Video Production. We've been together. The room opens on every Fridays at 12 noon, and for about 2 hours. But occasionally we'll go to 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. A long time we did 6 hours, and it's about we just talk about smartphone, video and filming, and it touches many topics like equipment, lighting, audio, uh post production, yeah, software, a lot of things, yeah, distribution. And by the way, I made a film. Do you know that?
Yes. Uh, the documentary about Andrew Yang,
Mhm.
my Yang Yang Diary.
Yeah, yeah.
As
So
a matter of fact, um, I mentioned to someone I know in the U.S.
mm,
that you were going to be interviewing me, and I mentioned that film, and she said, "Oh yes, I saw her and Andrew Yang interviewed on TV." Uh, she
yeah.
couldn't remember what show it was. I think it was something like Good Morning America or something like that.
No,
So,
no, no. It's right here on YouTube.
ah,
Yeah, you can look up. It's a November 2nd. I interviewed him, which is a month ago. Yeah,
right.
yeah. You can see the episode, and I think of YouTube changed their interface. When you go into someone's channel, you see video, playlist, and live. It used to be live is mixed with video. Now live is live because right now we're live. So people have to click on live and then see all my live shows. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't think it's like that before. But anyway, so yeah, check that episode. And then the movie actually right now is free. You can watch on Tubi. Do you know Tubi?
Yeah, I don't have Tubi.
No, you don't have to have Tubi. It's free. You just go on and register either on your television, smart. If you have a smart TV, then you'll see Tubi, or you could do it on your a laptop or a computer, or you could do it on your cell phone. So it's a app. It's a free app. You can watch movie free.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out.
How they make money is they put advertisement in it. But I
Right.
watched my movie twice on Tubi as very little advertisement. The ads were not long, very short.
Hmm.
Maybe they think they know I'm watching.
Or maybe it means you're not making very much money on it.
No, no, no. Yeah, you can make a living on it. Yeah. So anyway, that's my movie. Oh yeah, I can put it on here. So we are at the end almost. We have to, yeah, Yan Juyan said that. This is what Yan Juyan said: a beautiful film that will make you believe in people. So he likes it, but I didn't make this movie for him. I'm celebrating people's volunteerism. I made the movie about people because Indian didn't hire me to do this. I did it on my own,
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So Colleen, great to have you. We always do that in the clubhouse, and do you have last word?
Just to say thank you for this interview. I've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to hearing from friends of mine what they thought.
That's wonderful. And thank you so much to be on. And you're so frank, you're so original, and yeah, and you're not afraid of this, new lifestyle, which sometimes people would not want to talk about. And I think it's very valuable to even in the education point of view of freedom of being who you are, right? And the movement of LGBTQ and needs to be celebrated. So yeah, thank you so much. And I see you in Clubhouse.
Yes, I will.
Yeah,
I'll see you there.
yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much. And well, I look forward to listen to your opera and to see the production. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So, I want to thank people who are listening to us on Clubhouse, and you can check this episode on Juhl Media YouTube channel. And we did a live. We didn't have any script. We just chat, right? It's a good chat. And Sharkfin, Tech, thank you so much. Lewis, thank you so much. We have sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. SullJAHT. Yeah, thank you so much. And we also had Sherry was with us, and I don't know Sherry is here or not. And then we have someone waiting for us at the very beginning, Sam. Yeah, I just call you Sam, okay? It's a very long first name. Anyway, so thank you so much. We're going to end this broadcast, and I hope you take care of yourself and have a great evening of Wednesday. And yeah, be safe. Even COVID is kind of, getting less and less threatening, but still be safe. All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Colleen. Thank you so much. I want to thank you, people watching us. I'm going to click on end the broadcast.